Bas Mons joins me on this video episode to talk about staking and earning ADA on rewards when delegating to a stake pool. We talk about how and why you should be moving from an exchange over to your own secure wallet, as well as an initiative called F2LB that helps out small stake pool operators to try and get that first lifetime block on their pools. All this coming right up. Hit the thumbs up, click on that subscribe button, and even that notification bell, and you get more brilliant content from us soon. Boss, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
So let's start off with a little introduction. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into crypto, and whereabouts are you from?
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm originally from Holland. I live there as well. I got into cryptocurrency by a colleague of mine, kind of nudged me into it back in 2017. Then I was slightly inactive for a bit, kind of not actively holding, but just not really involved. Assets slowly crashed and grew again. I didn't really notice. But I got back into it when Cardano came to the scene. I was reading some white papers and really trying to get behind what a project is about. And this long-term, slow, steady scientific approach really gripped me. I'm a physical therapist in my daily life, and like a scientific approach and due diligence really stick with me. They're really important in my profession. So that resonated really deeply. Then I looked into getting my ADA stack delegated and working. And from there on, I got into the point where I thought, maybe I have enough to operate a stake pool and to get that going. And a friend of mine was really good in technology and Linux and everything. And he says, I think I could help you set this up. It doesn't really look too complicated. So we got that going, and now we're 3 people strong. 1 developer, that's him then, and we have a systems operator, a guy that got gripped by it the same way we did.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. We've been running since the 27th of February, which isn't that long, but been enjoying it so far.
It sounds like you started pretty much the same time as our pool started, late February, and as a kickoff. Now, you said that you're into a long-term crypto that you're researching and getting behind. Was there any other projects that you were researching at the time or even earlier in regards to something that that really gripped you?
Not particularly. I think in 2017 I bought some Ethereum, and then I got some rewards for those Coinbase Learn programs where you watch some videos and get rewarded for answering questions correctly. But I think I had some Ethereum. I had a very tiny amount of Bitcoin, and I think that's about it. So in terms of involvement in the project, that only came later. That's been like 4 or 5 months maybe.
Yeah.
And for my other portfolio, I have some Reef. That's mainly because of some advice from a friend that was really deep into it. So I kind of took it. And other than that, I tried to, just research the coin a little bit, put some into it, and just let it be, let it sit. There's no reason to get rid of it other than having to buy food. But I'm not in that position that I have to sell my cryptocurrency to get food. So it's I'm not really an active trader. I don't like to look at charts too much or prices too much or swing trade. All the bad stories I hear in my surroundings are people that sold way too early or swapped to the wrong currency or lost something in transactions. Yeah, it's just not worth it for me, especially with a busy job, a kid second on the way. It's just better to keep this strategy. It's solid.
Yeah, I agree. Once you work out a strategy, you should be sticking to it and make it work for you. I'm like yourself, very busy, and I don't have time to look at charts 24 hours a day. And that's the problem with crypto. You do need to be awake at ridiculous hours to hear that little news announcement that comes out that sends it skyrocketing, and then you need a trade. Unless you're trading with a bot, that's a totally different story.
Yeah, that's not really trading, is it?
Auto algo trading.
Yeah.
But anyway, could you tell everyone about your pool? What's it called, and how'd you get started with delegations and getting people to delegate towards your pool?
Oh yeah, that's well, yeah, as I said, we've been up for a couple of months now, and the pool is called STAYK pool. It's really generic, but it has the Y in it. And why is that? That's because we really think that staying, like doing this for a long term, is what makes it valuable. If you want to go in and out of pools, back and forth, left and right, then then you're probably too restless to actually trust the process of staking. So we made that our ticker, and our philosophy is long term. So first we need to get the pool up and running, get some delegators, have an online presence, help as many people as you can. Scour Reddit, be on Twitter, help people around. We'll circle back to the F2LB initiative later, but that's like a group of people that have the same goals. So like everyone needs to be bootstrapped, and once that is going, you can start like developing applications, help each other set up more pools, like make sure that this network spreads and spreads and spreads and really roots deeply into the ecosystem. That's what we're really about.
Yeah. Now the competition at the moment's incredibly hard, with more and more stake pools opening up. Like I was just looking at the stats on pooltools.io just a little bit earlier, and
Yeah,
I swear there was a new pool opening up every 30 minutes. And
yeah,
at my last count, it was about 2,550
roughly.
so pools. That's quite a few. And I think at the time when we were setting up, there's maybe 1,100, 1,200 pools. So
Yeah.
it's phenomenal growth for the last few months.
Yeah, it is. But have you checked the numbers like offset against the number of retiring pools or pools that don't really seem to show any activity? Because it's a really important distinction to make, like in terms of who is actually competing for your delegators or other delegators, or who just spun up a pool and just sit back, like twist his thumbs and wait for people to just randomly stumble into their pool. Like there's a huge difference in what you're bringing to the ecosystem, or are you just trying to catch some flies like a spider in a web? Like you really have to go out and catch people and make them enthusiastic, answer their questions, take away their fears. Because there's a lot of those in the crypto world. Everything's volatile and new, and like no one really knows. So if you take away that, that's really something that can help.
That's a really good distinction to make there as well. And you're right. When I was opening my pool, there was a pool with the exact same ticker name, which annoyed me incredibly.
Yeah.
So I had to change mine because the other person wouldn't even respond to my messages. But their pool hasn't moved at all. Still the same
Yeah.
amount of pledge and no activity, no social networks mapped around
Yeah.
it. So I'm not even sure what that person is doing in regards to their pool, other than just losing money through servers and not gaining any rewards on their stake. A little
Yeah,
unfortunate.
or it might be running on a separate PC in his garage on his Wi-Fi, and it doesn't actually cost extra money. Like that was my first setup, like an old gaming PC that I had was sitting around. I'll throw some Linux on it. I'll start with the command line interface, and I'll see where I end up. And that's where my buddy Roman came in, and he's like, no, 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 we're gonna do this properly. And he set it up in a couple of, well, not a couple of hours, but fairly quickly and with barely any hiccups. So I'm really happy that he's there. Like it's been a huge help, so I could really spend my time on being present and helping people and doing the interviews with the smaller operators to put them in the spotlight, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, in regards to also looking at those online sites like ADA pools, I was looking a little bit earlier and looking at the particular groups that some of the stats can show. And
Mm-hmm.
we're starting to see more and more larger groups or larger pool groups, such as
Yeah, the clusters. Yeah.
yeah, that's it, the clusters. So some pools are opening up 4 or 5, 6 pools. There's one in particular with 60 plus pools,
Yeah.
which I won't name at the moment. But it's if you look at the graphs, and I probably will bring it up on the screen so we can see it a
Mm-hmm.
little bit
Yeah.
later in the interviews. But yeah, it's really hard to fight against these ones, and it creates that centralization into some of those pools, those larger clusters. Could you elaborate a little bit about that? Why is that a problem, and why should people be avoiding them? Not so much avoiding them, but maybe finding different ways to delegate to smaller pools.
Yeah. Well, it's a good point to bring up, and it's one of our pet peeves, as I described it earlier. It's not strictly that we're competing against these exchanges or clusters. It's, of course, they represent a sentiment in the group of people that find crypto new, overwhelming, and they would rather stake with a click and take a little bit of a loss on their returns and then not have to keep another password or another 24-word phrase or have to look at it. So the whole set and forget service that exchanges provide is really alluring. Like we shouldn't really underestimate how easy it is to stake on several exchanges or wallets. And I don't really blame the exchanges per se for doing it because their business model is good. Like they sell ADA, and once you buy it, it actually stays with them. So they need to store it somewhere. And if you store it in a wallet, you might as well stake it. Like, why not? I mean, that's basically what we're telling people to do. We're just trying to pull them across that line of doing it yourself and making sure that it reaches the edges of the ecosystem, because that's where your centralization claim comes from. That if it stacks up at, for example, Binance, eToro, Exodus, doesn't really matter. It's not just the stake that people give away or actually they let someone else manage it. It's also your voting power. So the Cardano network becomes really powerful once everyone starts managing their own vote. So if there's suggestions to the network, for example, changing some parameters, or there's a new project that really can bring some value to it, we need people to read the Catalyst proposals and say, this is good. Like, I need to get on board here, and my vote goes there. And if you want to give that power to an entity that has benefit in keeping the status quo, that's just not really a good idea. Like, you wouldn't give your vote to your political party and then let them cast it. You want to give that vote to the party and then let them act on behalf of you. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But here in staking, you want to keep that vote for yourself. You want to make sure that you get involved.
So how do we educate and reach these people so that they can get involved into the ecosystem, delegate to smaller pools, and make their ADA count in a vote?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. Like, if we could,
We're all
if we could answer, if we could get like a one fit answer, that would be perfect. But it's not possible. I mean, I don't think it's possible. It starts with getting the people around you enthusiastic, get their heads off of the crazy times 10 moon whole that aura that's around cryptocurrency of like get rich quick or get dumped on and lose your life savings. Like, that's something we should really step away from. Just not give it any attention or not too much. To tell them about the long-term plans, like why you would want to do these things. And if you get people on board and they actually know how to reach you, if they have any questions, you start building a little community around your stake pool. And once it crosses that 1 million, 1.5, 2 million stake threshold, and you start producing blocks, people see the returns, they don't really care anymore that they're not in the biggest pool. Even better, because they might get better returns, but they have a shorter leash to the people that operate it. I think that one at a time approach would actually be the best one.
It's a very slow road with one at a time approach, but
it is.
But it is possible to get there.
Well, the thing is that everyone that you gain for your pool starts spreading that positive news as well. So it's not just every delegator should be personally won over by the stake pool operator. But if you get someone on board and he gets the vision, the idea, the mission, the goal, and he talks about it at a birthday party or with his friends at work, and they're like, hey, can you introduce me to the guy? Yeah, sure, of course, no problem. So it starts to ripple out, and that is something that you do by living the example. Like, put enough pledge in your pool. Say, you know what, I'm balls deep into this. Let's go. Like, I really want this to work. Join me. And you lead by example. And that's especially in a smaller community, because the crypto community is really small. It's the 1% of the 1% to do it, I think.
Yeah.
Although Paris Hilton has Bitcoin now, so we're kind of breaking out of that. But it's really small, so don't underestimate the influence you have on a one-on-one basis. I think it's something that everyone should consider.
I guess we also have to consider the motivations of a lot of the people that are on the exchanges or buying crypto anywhere. I have to say, A lot of the people are after those quick gains, the quick wins, and you're investing because you want to gain money. So when people are in, especially for a lot of the new investors at the moment, when you hear Dogecoin rising, you hear all these Safe Moon, whatever is tomorrow's crazy crypto parabolic growth coin, whatever it is. That's what people are after. And I don't think you really know how bad it is until you've experienced it. Like you, myself, we've gone through like 2007 to 2018 highs and lows. We've
Yeah.
we've experienced that. We know what it's like to lose out and win big.
Yeah.
And these people that are coming in at the moment haven't quite experienced that yet. So they've got a little
Yeah.
journey to go, I guess. But once you
That's
get them
true.
past that and their initial motivations and get them to educate it into a more longer term plan, 10, 20-year type of plan, I think we can move them over to smaller stake pools with missions and actually make a better impact with their vote and impact on the pools that have these mission-driven objectives to actually do some good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like in within Cardano, that's been addressed to as the myopic versus the non-myopic mindset. Like, do you play for the short term or do you play for the mid to long term? And with the whole hype part, like I like to draw a distinction, or actually a parallel between someone's like a famous person's Instagram account, like one of these fit girls that have amazing bodies, they work out all the time, and everyone sees the results. Like, they see the safe moon going up and the times 1,000 and people bragging with how much they gain. But a lot of people seem to forget that whatever is gained is also lost somewhere else. But that's not something that you as a beginning trader are really showing off. Like, people show off the things that are successful and they hold back the losses they make or the bad decisions they make. And that gives a skewed vision of how this industry works. And I think if we can try to engage with the people that really brag about all their gains and kind of make the nuance between, of course, yeah, you gained something that's fantastic. Like, I'd love it. I'd love everyone to be rich, but it really comes with a downside, and you want to warn people for that. Of course, like, if you can like triple your life savings, pay off your house, and pay for your kids' education, please do it, man. Please do it. But the couple people that actually manage to do that without the downsides is very small. There are so many people losing houses, losing jobs, losing friends, losing relationships because they went so far into something that turned out to be a complete fluke. Yeah, I think we have a little bit of a responsibility to keep some tabs on that and say, you know what, of course, hey, gamble or trade with what you can afford to lose, and be diligent about it, and don't expect too much. Like, the race is run on two legs: patience and persistence. And if it's too good to be true, it usually is. It's a cliche, but yeah, they're hugely true. That's the stupid thing with cliches.
Well, they are based on a truth.
Yeah.
Now, in regards to getting people from exchanges or wherever to pledge to, not pledge, but to delegate to smaller pools, let's talk about the process. So people listening in, they're hearing this, they're on one of these big exchanges and they want to eventually get to delegate and choose where they're delegating to. Let's talk through the process. Can you explain the process of a person getting off a big exchange and delegating to a pool like yours?
Yeah. Well, the very first thing that you want to accomplish with a person like that is to actually get them on board of the idea. Because you can like kind of like urge people to move from an exchange, or lure them to your pool with promotions and everything. But my experience, also from my job as a physical therapist, if you get the idea embedded in someone's brain, like they're actually walking with you instead of you pulling them. So if people know why exchanges have a bad influence in the sense of staking or hogging stake, so to speak, because they really fill a niche. Like, they get your fiat money onto the crypto market, and they're actually your entrance. Like, they're your supermarket for cryptocurrency. But you don't go to the supermarket and leave your groceries there. It's like it makes no sense. Like, you want to do stuff with it, either use them or make a great meal out of them. So if you get people on board on the idea, then the steps towards it are so easy. Like there's like millions or not millions. There are hundreds of guides, hundreds of like infographics, sites that want to help you. But in general, if you've bought ADA and you have it, the process of transferring it to a wallet is fairly straightforward. You download the Yoroi or the Daedalus wallet, you make a wallet, you save your information very carefully on paper, on aluminum, on a flash drive, in a safe somewhere. Just make sure you have proper backups. And then you send your ADA to the wallet. That's the biggest lump. Once it's there, both Yoroi and Daedalus have an interface that it's called like a delegation tab. And if you go there, you see your wallet, and you see like a search bar where you can search coins or you search pools. So you click it, and it gives you a drop-down list of all these pools rank ordered by several metrics. And you kind of browse through them. You click some websites. You want to try and read the missions that they might have or the performance that they might have had. One issue with the backwards performance is that it kind of rewards pools that are already big to draw more delegations in. Like it's always the busiest restaurants that have people waiting in line to get in, and the empty restaurants that people walk past. And I kind of refer to that as the party problem. Like you go to a party, you're there the first, and the music's good, and it's big, and like there's enough fresh air inside, and the bar's good, drinks good, but just no one there. So you just elbow your friends and you say, let's buzz. This place is dead. But if everyone does that, like 100 people might move in and back out again. And if they would all stay, then after the 15th or 20th, there would be like a little dancing going on, and it's fine. As if you get past that level, then you're actually good. And there's absolutely no difference anymore after 2-3 million stake. So I think getting people past the fear of losing out on rewards or being in the wrong pool, air quotes, that's the biggest challenge, I think, for us.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, in regards to your pool and marketing in general, how are you going about marketing and getting people to delegate?
Well, I'm completely new to the whole marketing thing, or completely new. In my profession, physical therapy, there's no real marketing. I mean, people get complaints, they come to you, you help them, they leave. And marketing isn't something that you actively do in healthcare normally. But for here, it's most of my intent is to be present, to be visible, and to be helpful. So people in this ecosystem experience all kinds of trouble, like funds being locked up, not knowing how to delegate their ADA or to get it off an exchange, or making distinctions between this coin or that coin, this network transaction, that network transaction. I mean, if I had one ADA for all the people I helped, like analyzing Etherscan addresses and seeing where funds ended up, and it's really selfless. I mean, that doesn't give me delegators. I mean, I help someone trace their Ether from one wallet to another and discover they used the wrong chain. Yeah, it's annoying, but they're super thankful for it. And those are the first steps you make. Other than that, I do some interviews with the people in the initiative that we joined, just to give them some exposure. And I think by pointing at one another and really making sure that we do this as a group, as a decentralized entity, that's something that's really high on my agenda. Just make sure that you provide information, provide help, and that people get on board with your mission, and then they'll join. Like the delegators that we have all have said, or most of them have said, I'm going to stay here till wherever. I mean, I'm on board, so I'm not going anywhere. And if I get more ADA, I'll put it in this wallet, so don't worry. And that's something that's really nice to hear. It's reassuring. It makes it easy to go till 2 a.m. to finish that interview, or to help this person do that, or to make another infographic. And that's kind of the kickstart of something like this, until it becomes more profitable. And I can say, I can maybe work a day less and put some more effort into this if I so choose.
It's a very similar story for us. We found our delegators. I reach out to every single one of them if I can, or they reach out to me, and we have a conversation. I get to know them a little bit better. I get to understand why they actually chose the pool to delegate to, and I get a whole range of different reasons, and it's really good to hear. Now, there are some other initiatives to help small pools like ourselves, and one of them, like we were saying a little bit earlier, is the F2LB, or First to Lifetime Block initiative. We're both in it. Could you explain to the audience a little bit about what it is and how it can help other small stake pool operators out there to really get a kickstart?
Yeah. Yeah, the idea was sprung by Stefano, which is one of the operators on the Cardano forum, and he kind of spun off the idea that we could just like pile our stake up like high and then just delegate it to a pools in a queue-like fashion, in the hopes that each pool would then reach like get some critical mass, so to speak, and then produce a block just to prove that your setup and everything, your redundancies are all good. So your pool is actually ready to mint. The only thing that it then lacks is stake. So if that's the last thing you have to like check from your list, then it's much easier to market your pool, because a lot of people will see the pool and say, wait, 0 produced blocks? Well, why would I be there? And that's the hurdle you want to overcome, and the initiative was spun up that way. So the pools, the lists started growing from 5 to 6 to 12 to 50 to we're over 50 now, and the collective stake that we have is somewhere around 700,000 or 800,000 ADA. So if you have some stake in your pool and you'll receive the wave, you can maybe like bump up to that 1 million stake, get slot leader, produce a block, and actually be on the map, so to speak. That's the whole point. Other than that, we've really seen that the initiative is growing way past beyond the stake wave, so to speak. It's actually people helping each other set up the pools. Like, hey, my relay isn't responding. What's happening? I don't see any transactions being processed. And there's like 3 people swooping in, like, hey, have you checked this or run this script or have you looked at this? And here's a link, and I did it here, and it works perfectly. That community sense, that one for all for one, that's really a breath of fresh air. It's fantastic. And there's even people in that queue that don't have a pool themselves. They're maybe like contemplating of making a pool, but they just donate their bag. Like, I'll just join the delegation queue, because you're always going to be in a pool with roughly 700,000-800,000 stakes, so you're not really suffering in block production or rewards. And we've actually got the first rewards yesterday, I think. So it's really nice to. Yeah,
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, you should keep an eye on my Twitter, man. I tweet those things.
All right, yeah.
But it's really nice to see that starts to pay off in way more ways than we've originally intended. Yeah. That's brilliant. Like, that's really what a community is, and it's good.
That was one of the very first things I was worried about. Like, I'm moving my stake around from pool to pool. I'm not delegating it to my own pool. Am I going to get rewards out of this? Am I just wasting my ADA just moving it around? But now that has happened and you just confirmed it, I haven't seen the rewards for it yet myself. It's good to know that it'll still increase over time and actually be a benefit from us, because for us, I mean, because we're still gaining ADA.
Yeah, and it ripples way beyond that, because think about it. If you would really draw it into one corner of the argument, like all the ADA is with one entity, it wouldn't be a valuable item. Like, no one would trade for it because they don't see any intrinsic value in it. Like, okay, so I have one of those, and then I can't trade with my neighbor, I can't do groceries with it, I can't pay my Tesla with it. The whole idea is that the value comes from the broad distributed trust in the system. So the more spread out it is, the more valuable it becomes by definition and by design. So if we can get everyone to stay away from the big piles, and then I'm even talking about like saturated pools that are single operated. Like, even if you have a pool that's at 50 million stake, of course it's nice to go to 55 and to go to 60, but it would be even better if there's like 2,000 pools that are all roughly around 40 million. So there's actually an equilibrium where you can find the pool that suits your needs best without actually saturating it. And yeah, that'll be a utopia, I think. It's something we can work towards, and especially when governance becomes more active, we can actually change the formula a bit. So yeah, you may see a steeper drop off in rewards for saturated pools or near saturated pools, because I think we all benefit if there's a lot of people in this ecosystem. It'll weed out the bad actors and the people that don't operate their pool properly, and the people that are not online or not present or not helpful. They'll be weeded out. And it's actually healthy. So getting new pools registered, I don't see that there's a problem at all. I think it's good to have the best of the best survive. and to fight a little bit for it. Like, I mean, it's going to be a business. It's not going to be a free lunch. Like I did some command line interface in Linux. Now give me money. No, it's a job. It's an extra job that you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're not up for the job, like, yeah, now's the time to get out.
Now, you were talking about this community that F2LB has. Now, this all happens on Discord. We didn't mention that, and Discord, it happens to be one of those applications that I don't use very often. So when I have to fire up another app to start communicating to people, I find it very annoying. But you're right, the Discord conversations and channels for the group are actually very active, and there's different channels for different initiatives like the marketing, the technical support, etc. And it is a very engaging community. Now, can we share that link out to anyone and invite them into the Discord channels?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's open. Like, anyone that goes to the f2lb.org website can click the link and join the Discord. Whether you're a pool operator, someone who wants to help delegate, or you just have some questions, or you have some technical issues that you'd like answered, or I don't know, share a picture of your cat. I mean, just check Lucy Poo. He'll love it. But the thing is, that's the whole thing about a community. Like, you can go there to consume, so to speak, but eventually you'll notice that it's a really nice place to be, and you'll be compelled to contribute as well. And that's what most of the people are doing right now, and that's just good. Like, it's good human nature to share. That reciprocity that's there is brilliant. That's gonna take this very far, I think.
I think so too. So I highly encourage anyone with a small pool or just starting out to check it out and to find out more information. If not, to join the queue and join in with the delegation process, but to at least join the community and learn from some other people that are going through the same process as you would be with a new pool. Now, there are some other initiatives as well, like IOHK have got their quarterly delegation process where they delegate 3.2 million ADA to 100 lucky pools every 3 months. And I'm assuming you would have gone through that process of the application.
Yeah.
Am I assuming right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's like our lifeline subsidy. It's really nice to have it. Like, there's a couple of guys that really made good use of it, like the charity pool from Alex from Romania. He received it and he used it, like, the extra time that bought him to be super active on the forums, help people out setting up their pools, like really giving back to the community. And that's brilliant. Like, it's a good way to bootstrap smaller pools. Plus, the pools that IOHK and Emergo were running earlier, like the Genesis pools, they need to be empty. Like, there's still stake in there, and they need to find their way into the ecosystem. I wouldn't be surprised if they kept moving that stake around to pools that they feel need the support. Kind of like what we're doing at F2LB, but with a way larger stack of ADA. And there's
just
actually just a little. And there's actually some buzzing in our Discord group to make a Catalyst proposal to actually have one of those wallets under custody, or at least to have that migrate with the initiative to just really get some bang for your buck when you join the initiative. So
interesting.
That would be awesome. But I think we just missed the Fund 3, so it needs. I think we just missed the Fund 4, so we need to be Fund 5. So, but there has to be some effort into a solid proposal. But we've got some time to do it.
Yeah, the Fund 5 is into finalization of the proposals at the moment. So you have to wait for Fund 6, and you would have to see if the challenges meet with that kind of process as well. Now, conversation's jumping around a little bit, but you were talking about the vote in regards to the us pool operators may have to change and refine the rewards mechanism, and being able to change something like the pledge factor, and changing how much of an influence pledge would have, or even the K factor, the amount of pools that are required to run the network. At the moment, K is at 500. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I can't remember what factor the pledge has, but even that's going to be tweaked from what I've heard in conversations on various podcasts. So it'll be interesting to see what that impact will have with our pools in general, and then the K factor changing, which I heard was supposed to change in March, but that rumor was squashed.
Yeah, I think most of the reasoning behind it was the whole distribution of stake is a natural process. It's like an ebb and flow and a back and forth, and it kind of saturates to a certain value. And if you change too many parameters at once, it's really hard to see the individual influence of that changes. So I think they want to see a little bit more of a stabilization, and then once that's done, they'll change the K factor, let it stabilize, and then change A0 or the pledge factor. And for those listening that are not really sure what pledge factor is, it's actually the amount of money that a stake pool operator puts in his own pool. It's like the investment that he puts in. If you put like 2 ADA in, you kind of like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to fail, it's fine, but I just don't have that much invested, so I'll be fine. But the more a stake pool operator puts in it, the more he expresses his faith in the success of the operation. So the factor in the formula determines how much influence that is in the rewards. For example, if you pledge to a pool that has 2 ADA, if you stake to a pool that has 2 ADA pledge, you may get less rewards for your 1,000 ADA or 10,000 ADA than if the pledge were maybe 100,000 or 500,000. So the more weight that is given, the more logical it is for a person to operate one pool instead of multiple. Because if you can split it up and actually gain a little bit of rewards for multiple pools, it's actually bad for decentralization if lots of people start to operate bigger pools.
Yeah, totally. Now, this conversation we could have all night. I think we could talk about all various aspects of pool operations, rewards formula, and so forth. Now, just to cap this one off, how can people find out more information about you? How are you active on Twitter, on Reddit? What's the process there to find you and your pool?
Well, the fastest way to reach out is always Twitter. Like that's buzzing so quickly. But if you want to take your time and read some stuff about the pool and how it's set up, you can always go to www.stayk.com. That's with a Y, STAYK pool.com. We have a Reddit account that's usually for back and forth, some forum activity, or you can send me an email at bas@staykpool.com, which is BAS@staykpool.com. Or you can join the F2LB Discord and reach out. Like all the names are quite clear there, and we're running a promotion for at least the foreseeable future, where we send out our own native token to people that delegate to us in a 1-to-1 ratio. For example, if you put 5,000 ADA into our pool, you receive 5,000 stake coins, and they will represent a part of our profits. Like 20% of all the profits that we make as a pool will be pooled into a little pot and divided by the number of coins in circulation. So there's a total of 50 million minted, like up to a healthy saturation point, or even lower when the K factor increases. And you can actually claim them. You can trade them between other delegators. So it actually starts to have real value. And we plan to have a little application to track that, so you kind of know what you're holding. And it's a way to incentivize people to help us bridge that gap between being fairly small to being regularly producing blocks, and those who do that will be rewarded through that coin.
That's absolutely fantastic, and people can find out more about that on the website.
Exactly.
Okay, Bas, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I'm sure we're going to do this again.
It would be great. Would really be great. I'm up for this all night. Like my daughter's still asleep, so
yeah,
bring it on. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.